joined by Farage Kenwright from Liverpool. Hotelier, entrepreneur. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome. Reading through your life history, Lawrence, reminded me a bit of the Frank Sinatra song. That's life, you know, riding high in April, shot down in May, and you've lived this amazing roller coaster. Sure. And we're going to get on and talk about signature living, this extraordinary hotel concept that you've got, which clearly is very successful, though the pandemic and the lockdown didn't make it easy. No. But you started in pretty humble beginnings in Walton. You dropped out of school, even though you could have done well, and you began shoveling manure. This was your first job.
It was. Well, at the time, we had a bit of a debacle going on between Derek Hatton and Margaret Thatcher.
I remember, yeah.
And so do I. Yeah. So I left school at the tender age of 15 before my exams because, you know, the son of a docker, my dad said, just get a job, any job. So I ended up shoveling Fuller's Earth. But Liverpool at the time was on a real low. And if you'd have said to me, you know, 20 years to 30 years ago that Liverpool would be a top 5 tourist destination, I'd have laughed. And I think everyone else that I knew would have laughed. But at that time, when I was 15 or 16, shoveling Fuller's Earth, with 100,000 people leaving Liverpool because they couldn't find a job.
Yeah.
You know, Liverpool was in a very, very serious...
Boys from the black staff, give us a job, give us a job and all that. Yeah. And it was seen to be a very bleak place.
It didn't seem to be, it was. It was an horrendous place to get a job. It was a horrendous place to try and carve out some form of career. You know, I'm son of a docker, son of a coat worker. My dad lost his leg very early on, so we lived on invalidity benefits for many, many years. So to get a job was just the epiphany of your life, you know, to get a job.
So you get a job, you get on the ladder, you become a van lad, and where does this entrepreneurial flair that you've developed come from?
I think fear of failure is probably the main track to ensure.
But how did you get started? Because you know, there must be lots of people out there, young people out there today, who think, "How? What do I do? How do you start?"
Well, I think you've got to be born with a certain amount of tenacity because it's like, you know, you start off, you try and raise funds. It's really difficult to raise funds, especially in Liverpool 20, 30 years ago. But then once you start to gain some traction, and with me, it was taking on an apartment and then going to 2 and to 3, and then gaining a great opportunity with old deadly buildings.
Borrowing money.
Well, Liverpool is a strange place. That Liverpool obviously had that debacle with the fallout between Hatton and Thatcher. But what happened to Liverpool was it was then bereft of funding for many, many years, and that funding went to Leeds and Manchester and didn't come to Liverpool. So Liverpool was left with all of the old listed buildings that were knocked down in Leeds and Manchester to make way for the gregarious buildings that they put up. Liverpool actually then had a huge benefit of using those stunning, amazing buildings. So Liverpool now, top 5 tourist destination that it is.
I mean, the Victorians built Liverpool beautifully.
All built on the Victorians, but left to fall into severe dereliction. Yeah. So I came along, not truly understanding the development world, but really understanding how to turn a derelict building into a commercial entity by giving it a new set of clothes. It was never meant to be a hotel, but it's very, very difficult when you've got a grade 2 star listed building that was built to be an office block to then try and turn it into a hotel. So then you have hotels.
Why hotels?
I think, well, I've done apartments and I've done hotels, but hotels because there is not just only a bricks and mortar valuation to a hotel, but there's also an EBITDA valuation to a hotel. So the multiplication of profits would give a better valuation to the overall building. But you have the added complication of having to trade it, which obviously brings its own complications.
Yeah. So you start to build everything up. You start to build a property empire. Then it all goes wrong again.
Well, you know, when you go into, I think the start of it all going on for me was Brexit. So that's when it really went wrong for me.
Because?
Well, obviously the country voted to leave, and I absolutely agree with that. I think where we made a huge mistake as politicians is that we had the House of Parliament going against government, and that spelled a disaster to the income and investors that come into the country.
3.5 years of effectively Parliament not honouring the result.
Well, it was cascading onwards, wasn't it? So that noise got more and more sinister as time went on, and as Parliament went against government, I think it was in the August, It was literally like you could hear the screeching of the brakes of the money stopping to come into the country. And, we're a small country, aren't we? But we're a massive fundraiser. A lot of money gets parked in this country.
Yeah.
That stopped pretty much overnight until the election was won on the 12th or the 13th of December. When that happened, then it was, well, everyone's away. So in January, don't worry, the money's going to start coming in again.
And then something happens.
And then we have the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that derailed everyone because 3 weeks' time, we're going to open up again. And I had a lot of fractional ownership partners, 500 or 600 of them, right around the country, right around the world. And some of them didn't want to listen, didn't want to wait until we opened up again. So we had to put part of the business into administration.
Yeah.
But luckily for us, when we opened on the 4th of July again, we decided that tourism wasn't going to be here because the streets were bare. So we, instead of having a hotel, a standard hotel room, we then started selling events with beds. So then we started putting, say, 300 or 400 people on the roof of the Shankly Hotel site.
Yeah.
And those people then, who would be local.
Clearly a Liverpool supporter.
No, I'm an Everton supporter.
Are you? Well, why the Shankly Hotel then?
Because that's where the money was.
Cat's out of the bag, I tell you.
No, but if Liverpool win, the city absolutely flourishes, and certainly when they win the league and European Cups. Sadly, as a Blue, that's not going to happen. So, as a Scouser first and foremost, I'm all about the city doing well.
Yeah. So you create big roof terrace. So you almost become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
As opposed to where a commercial traveller stays or whatever it is. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at a clip of the sort of hotel rooms that you've got going now, because they are. Here we are. The Cave. Talk us through this.
So the caves.
Look at this. It's extraordinary.
That's a basement cluster of rooms, which has one room in there that has 28 beds, but it's sold out for 12 months in advance every weekend.
28 beds in one room.
28 bed spaces, so 14 double beds.
Right. So what kind of events take place there, Lawrence Kenwright? You will be getting invited to.
So the world's changed. So hotels, like Liverpool's got 9,000 beds. And if you have one or two people go into those hotels, then they're the experts for that. Anything over that, we feel we're the experts. And if you look at social media and the fact now that there are more groups than ever before because we are socially connected, and if you think we're super connected now, we're going to be super, super connected in the future. So therefore, that super connectivity brings about more friendships, more. So let's just say hen parties coming on.
Yep.
And the lady puts out on her social media, "Hi guys, I'm having a hen party in Liverpool, whenever it's going to be." And before you know it, you've got people from university you haven't seen for 10 years, but they don't want to come on their own. They want to come with two of their mates. So then someone else wants to come. And it's really strange when you see them all coming together for the first time, but they're sharing the same room. So there's a shift of what's acceptable and what's not. So our main competitor really is someone like Travelodge, because that's where most of the groups go to.
Yeah.
But we're not selling a bed anymore.
Well, you look much more exciting than Travelodge,
totally.
I've got to tell you.
So we're not selling a bed, we're selling an experience and what we call a boastful play. So every room, I'm going to get a bit complicated here. Every room's got 3 sharp edges. The sharp edges lead to a backdrop for their picture to go on their social media. We know they'll naturally navigate towards those.
And of course, the social media brings more business in a
peer-to-peer way. So rather than me going on TV saying, "Hi guys, have you seen my hotel rooms?" Well, you're going to say, "Well, you can't say that. That's being commercial." What we're doing here is we're allowing or wanting the customers to boast about their stay, which jumps into the garden of acceptability, which means that they're going to want to stay, irrespective of whatever says on TripAdvisor.
It must get out of control sometimes, the kind of situation like that.
No, it doesn't. So every group that comes in, there's one guest that has to give us their credit card.
Right.
So if
the
anything
damage
goes wrong,
or...
So that they tend to be like the policeman within that room, so that doesn't really happen that much.
So lockdown over, let's hope we're not going back. Parts of Europe are, which is quite scary to watch. You must be making a fortune with this.
Well, I think we got a bit of a winter of discontent because a lot of people don't really, want to come out now. There's still the older age groups that are still a bit worried about coming out.
Yeah.
So your midweek punter's not there. Your weekenders, we're 100% every weekend, but we used to be 85% during the week. Now we're about 70% during the week. So it has come down. We're doing far better than anyone else. So a lot of those main brand hotels that are out there that are waiting for their business users to come back, but now they're Zooming. So if you got somewhere like Manchester and London, their midweek and their RevPAR is the same as their weekend. It's midweek, same as weekend, because they have a huge amount of businessmen wanting to use their hotels during the week.
Yeah.
Liverpool's never had that. Liverpool lost that battle to Manchester a long time ago. Manchester have the main offices.
Yeah.
Liverpool don't have it. So Liverpool's become a tourist destination.
Leisure destination.
And they become the
Well, I must come and visit. This is remarkable. It looks amazing. It looks like fun.
Well, you're more than welcome to come and visit the Shankly whenever you wish.
Well, I look forward to it, because the previous mayor of Liverpool, Joe Addison, said I wouldn't be welcome to set foot in the city, but I can come to your hotel, yeah?
Yeah, of course you can.
Well, that was Lawrence Kenwright, and I think he's reinvented hotels in just the most extraordinary way. We thank him for coming on Talking Pints.